Hi everyone, Teacher Nick here. Welcome back to our TOEFL iBT all-in-one course. Today we're going to be talking about Lesson 9, which is our first lesson in the TOEFL iBT all-in-one for speaking. Let's get into it. To start with, we're going to be talking about what the speaking section is about overall. And when we talk about that, we're talking about understanding the English concepts and the pronunciation. So what this really means is we're trying to improve our clarity. We're trying to improve ways we're speaking and understand ways to speak more clearly. We're also going to talk about how to practice these things as well. So not only are you going to find ways to speak more clearly, but also practice ways speaking clearly as well. Other things we're going to be discussing is the coherency and the cohesion in your speech. And what this really means is we're going to be trying to, what I like to say, smooth out your speech. And when we think about this, I want to really point on the word fluency. To draw a picture, normally when we think about fluency and think about the word flow, we think about a river running through the water and flowing down that river. So when we talk about coherency and cohesion and smoothing out, we want our speech to flow nicely through the ideas without any problems. And the last thing we're going to do today is talk about part 1, or speaking task 1. This is the first out of 4 parts. We're going to go over some tips, tricks, and examples today. Examples. I apologize, I misspelled that. Examples on how to do part 1 more successfully. We have roughly 12 examples to do today. To start with, it's important to understand where we're going. So our first thing to do is to talk about the different parts of the TOEFL iBT speaking test. And to break this down, there are 4 tasks: task 1, task 2, 3, and 4. And these tasks are separated into different categories. Task 1, we define as our independent speaking task, and task 2, 3, and 4, we define as our integrated speaking task. What this really means is in task 1, you're using mostly your speaking skills. You have to use your reading skills a little bit. While task 2, 3, and 4, we are using multiple different language skills in our tasks. So this is where they're integrated, using our reading, using our listening in combination with our speaking communication skills. Our task 1 is broken into normally in familiar topics. So these are topics about your family, your life, things that are generally familiar to all people, maybe where you live, even your hobbies. One thing to remember here is you want to draw on your own experiences and your own ideas. Oh, that's not a highlighter, sorry. Own experiences and own ideas. When thinking about this, sometimes it's a little bit hard to have our own experiences that maybe connect to the questions. So it's important here to be what I like to call creative and imaginative. So be inspired about things in your life. So what this really means is potentially you have a question about adventures or about travel, and you're someone who doesn't do these things. So you have to find ways to communicate and talk about this. So maybe you have a friend, or maybe you like stories, or maybe you read or watch a vlogger who travels. You can use these stories to inspire yourself when communicating in this task. And one thing to keep of note, this roughly resembles a short impromptu speech, so you'll have to be able to speak for 45 seconds, roughly. So have to be able to speak and being confident to speak for a long time. In our tasks 2 through 4, these tasks, once again, I said, they're putting skills together. We're combining, integrating skills together. So we're using more than one skill. The skills we do use are going to be our listening and our reading skills. We have to use both of these to get through our integrated tasks. So you'll be reading, listening, and thinking. what's really important here is being able to process information. So process information from different ways. And what we mean by this is that you're able to understand and absorb information. Because when we talk about the TOEFL speaking or any speaking test, what we're really talking about is our ability to communicate and process information after we've understood it. One thing to note is as we go through this, as we talk about this, we will do multiple examples, multiple questions to show, but on your real test, it is only going to be one legitimate question. We are using multiple for examples to help you out. And finally, just as a quick note, the TOEFL speaking test roughly takes about 16 minutes. They are timed sections. A lot of it is controlled. There is really no variation to this. Some listening tasks or listening components can be a bit longer than others, which is where we use the word approximate. But almost always, the students are done in basically 15 or 16 minutes. When talking about our TOEFL, it's really important to know not only the different styles of questions we get, but how the scores are made. So when talking about this, we have 3 major criterias to think about when scoring this. Our first one is what I like to call topic development, or in my words, the idea. The next one is our delivery, or how you show the idea or how you communicate the idea. And finally, it's the language you use. And this is the way you communicate or you illustrate the idea. So to break this down more, the topic is how we address the question, and what I like to say is the main ideas presented. So when we get our question, we have to discuss through ideas and communicate ideas. And so the development or the topic is the main ideas that we have. How we answer the question. Answer the question, as I like to say. Now, our delivery is how these ideas are being communicated. So is it a coherent? Do the words flow nicely through each other, as we talked about that water analogy? Are you pronouncing words clearly? Do you have a heavy accent? Are you enunciating our syllables as we need to? Is your pacing consistent? Is it natural? Sometimes as we're talking, we may pause a lot, like you can hear sort of right now. So it's all about that pacing. And our intonation. Do we communicate with proper stresses of words as well as communicating emotions when we're talking? So it's all about how we're doing something. And lastly, I know a lot of students do get concerned or do get worried about grammar and their vocabulary. One thing I really like to emphasize here is when we're doing a speaking assessment or a communication challenge like this, the grammar you use is, yes, important, but it's not the most important factor I'd like to emphasize on. What's really important here is that you're able to build an idea for the question and have an answer, as well as have that answer be mostly coherent, mostly clear, and well-paced. If we do these things, normally our grammar will work well enough to have a good score. But it's always making sure that we can address the question correctly first and foremost. The example I like to use for this, it's a very clear example, an easy example. If the question is, do you like dogs? And you answer, people call me John. This is one of those examples that grammatically you would be perfect, but your topic and potentially your delivery would have made mistakes. So making sure we have our topics and our delivery organized helps us attain better grammar. So those are the basics of the assessment, of the test, and how we work with it. To dive into next, what we're really going to talk about is how to speak English more clearly and how to have a better pronunciation of the language. And to do that, we have to understand a few things. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is you need to understand that the TOEFL test is coming from America. We have different countries with different types of tests. This one is American-based. So when it comes to accents, when it comes to accents and pronunciations, you need to be understanding of Americans. So ways that you can do this are making sure you're watching medias, videos, music. We also have something called Echo English to help you, where you'll be able to hear accents as well to understand the English accent. While working on this, we have 4 major aspects of the language to think about. And those are consonants, vowels, and what I'm going to call blends and combinations. And what this really means is how the letters of our alphabet come together to make sounds. So every letter and every combination come together to make sounds. And these sounds are created using the muscles in our tongue. And one thing when learning a new language and learning English is you'll have to teach your mouth or teach your tongue what we call muscle memory. And this will come up a few times in today's lesson, is the ability for your tongue muscles to create the sounds consistently. And when we're very young and we're learning our native language, this is one of the first things we do as we speak. We learn these sounds. And when learning a new language, potentially, or English, this is the next step in understanding how to speak clearly, is training our muscles. So to break this down even more, we have sounds. And I've said the word sounds quite a bit. Another word for sounds is the word phonemes, or the sounds that letters create. In the world, we have something that is called the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA, and those are what you can see right here in our slashes. These are all the different phonetic alphabet letters. And they use English letters, they use some Greek letters, some symbols, some math, numbers, and a few symbols as well. For this is just a reference for you. If you never understood a word or didn't know a word, you could look it up just by searching the International Phonetic Alphabet of any word you wanted, and you could reference this to break down a word. But to show this as more, these sounds, in essence, are ways we create sound in language. So I'm going to just give you examples of each one so you can hear the sounds. So we have our P sound, which starts with the word pit or apple. Our B sound, and our words are bit and above. And as you hear me say this at home, please try to repeat with me. I'll give you just a second to repeat with me so you can practice it as well. Go our next one, our T sounds. We have the first word being time and internal. Our D sounds, our first word is door and doodle. And you can hear our second D right there. Moving on to K sounds. Our K sounds, our first one actually spells with a C, but it's cat. And our next one is ticket. And you can hear the 2 sounds in there. Our G sound, we have get and baggage. Our F sound, we have our first one being fan. And our second one actually uses Greek letters to create an F. And we have photograph. Moving on is our V sound. We have van and video. And this is where our first blend sound comes into place. This is our TH sound. So we have think and author. And as you hear with TH, I'm going to try and draw a picture for you guys just over here. For TH sound, if our red lines or our red boxes were our teeth, by chance, a red box was my teeth. My second red box was my teeth. To make the TH sound, our TH sound, my tongue, which is blue, my tongue needs to come out of my mouth, past my teeth, and it pulls back to create the TH sound. So to do this nice and clear on camera, if I want to make a TH sound, my tongue, once again, is going to come out of my mouth, and I'm going to pull it back to create that sound. So we can say think. And as it comes back in, I generate my TH. To move on to our next sound is another blend, is our second TH. It's that. And this blend works the same way. Our tongue comes out of our mouth and pulls against our teeth to create that and leather. Moving on is our S sound. S is similar to its next one, which is Z, but S starts with send and celery. So C's can sometimes create an S sound. Next up is Z, or sometimes you hear this as Z, depending on where you are in the world. Our Z sound is similar to an S, but it's longer and more razzy, and it's got a more vibration to it. So we have zap and deposit, and you can hear that vibration on that Z sound, it's zzz. Well, S is more of a snake. The air is sliding out between the teeth. Moving on to our M sounds, we have man and hammer. Our next sound is N. We have nice and nickel. We have our next blend sound, our NG. This is a very common blend. Our first example is ring and singer. Please make sure you are repeating just to help sure you're practicing your own phonics as we do this. Our next sound, once again, is our L sound. It's leg and silly. And this is a very long sound. Our tongue, to draw another picture as nicely as I can over here, our tongue is this time touching the top of the mouth. So if this is our mouth, my mouth right here, let me draw this a little bit curved, a little bit better. My tongue is coming out and touching the top, and my teeth are right here in front of it. So I have that L sound. My tongue is coming up, touching the top of my mouth, coming down the teeth to make our L. To give an example one more time, it is leg and silly, coming down. Moving on to our next symbol, or is our R sound, our next phoneme, is R for rat, a big R sound. It's a rud, rolls in your mouth. So rat and robot. Very similar to a L, except for it doesn't touch the top of our mouth. Moving on to our next sound is W. And W, we have wet. And it has that big W sound. And our next one is flower. Again, that big W sound. Our next sound is our H letter, our letter H sound. And our first one is hat. And our next one is ahead. Our next one is our Y sound, but it actually has a J in our International Phonetic Alphabet, so just be careful of that. But it is yet, or royale, and it has this big Y sound to it. We've gone to our next blend, and once again, our symbols do get a bit more complicated, but please just remember they come to these sounds. And the first one is shop, our SH. It's a long sound. It starts with an S, and it comes with a lot of air. And our another example is discussion. Once again, shh. It's a long sound. It puts that S and that H. And we actually make this sound quite a bit when people do the quiet symbol. For young children or people, we go, shh. This is the exact sound we make for this word. Moving on, we have 3 more symbols to look at. Our first one is leisure. It's kind of what I like to say as a ZH sound. It's like our SH, but it's more vibrated. Let me make the Z a little bit more clear for you guys. ZH sound. So leisure. And our next example is genre. Again, like our SH, but a bit more vibrated. Ja instead of sha. Next up, we have what is normally a hard sound for many people. It's our CH. CH is a very strong sound. A lot of the air needs to come out at the very beginning. So we have chop and nature. And you can hear, as I'm saying that, there's a lot of air being pushed out with this sound. So it's a very strong, sharp sound in the English language. Ch, ch, ch. And you can hear the air hitting the microphone even as I have a protector on it. And our last one to go over is jump and general. That j of J and G. Sometimes these sounds have a similarity to them. To move on, we have now blend sounds, and I mentioned a few of them together. These are, again, just examples of different blends that we have in the English language, and most of these are quite common. So what I'd like to do is I will say them with you one time, and please just make sure you're repeating them to practice your phonics. And I'll try to make my sounds as big and exaggerated as I can so you can hear them nice and clearly. So to do these one at a time, we're going to start with our 2-letter blends. Please just repeat after me. The first one is blade. The next one is clear. And then we have flute and glad and planet and sleep. Then brown, crow, drink, friend, grapes, pretty, trip. We're halfway done. Remember, keep practicing, keep repeating with me. Smile, space, stem, dwindle, swan, 12, child, milk, adult, band, bank, tent, desk, toast, and grasp. So these are 2-letter blends. And our last ones, just to review together, remember, please repeat with me, try to say them as clearly as possible, is 3-letter blends. And our examples are scramble, shrink, sprout, street, split, and threat. So here, once again, we're blending 2 letters or potentially even 3 letters to sound together. And these are just consonants. So I'm going to do these next ones a little bit quicker because there are less of them, but our vowel sounds are also the following. So our vowel sound is our E sound. Again, in our blue, before each word, this is our International Phonetic Alphabet. So if you were not sure about how to say a word that you saw in the world, you could look up the International Phonetic Alphabet for any word you wanted, use these sounds, use these charts to then break down the word and understand them. This is actually a quite important skill. Just to bring this up quickly, we call this decoding. Decoding language is the ability to take the letters in a word and understand them and break them down to create and produce that word. So all of this is to learn new words and decode new words. So let's go through our vowels very quickly. We have our E sound in meat, our is sound, our I sound in pit, our S sound in pet, our S sound in pat, our S sound in car, our sound in luck, our sound in dog, our O sound in pot, Our oo sound in to. Our oo sound in good. Or sorry, o sound in good. Our ear sound in shirt. And our o sound in ago. And our last ones, again, are just mixing vowels together. Our a sound in day. Our I sound in sky. Our oi sound in oi. Our o sound in go. Our ow sound in cow. Our ear sound in bear. Our ear sound in deer. And our ow sound in and our or sound in tor. I apologize for that last one. So once again, these are how we break down our international phonetic alphabet as well as our sounds in English. And the important part about these things and hearing these sounds and knowing these sounds is being able to break down new words. So one thing we have here to practice for you guys, these are what we call tongue twisters. And you can see them right here, tongue twisters. We have tongue twisters in many languages around the world. And what tongue twisters are used for is to help us once again build our muscle memory. To be able to say these phrases quickly means that our muscles in our tongue are able to create the sounds in the English language quickly and efficiently, meaning that we can speak more clearly and pronounce our language better. Now, these are great tools to just practice your speaking when you want, but also before you speak for a speaking test, any speaking test that it may be. It's really important to make sure that your muscles in your mouth are warmed up like we would for a sports competition or maybe something more physical. We warm up our body, we warm up our muscles to make sure they're ready to go. We can also do that with our tongue using our muscle memory tongue twisters. So for each one, I'm going to go through it with you just so you can hear me say it and hear it pronounced. You can definitely try them at home anytime you want. One thing you always want to do is try to be able to pronounce these as quickly as possible and as clearly as possible. The faster you can do them, the clearer you can do them, the better off your pronunciation will always be. So let's do our first one. Have a listen. Try to practice it yourself as you're listening. Our first one, H sound. A happy hippo hopped and hiccuped. I'll say that one more time for you. A happy hippo hopped and hiccuped. Our next one, K sounds. Cooks cook cupcakes quickly. One more time. Cooks cook cupcakes quickly. And our next one is our GB sounds. Gobbling gargoyles gobbled gobbling goblins. One more time. Gobbling gargoyles gobbled gobbling goblins. And our SZ sounds, our vibrating Z with our short S. Scissors, sizzle, thistles, sizzle. And one more time. Scissors, sizzle, thistles, sizzle. And you can hear the difference between the Z and the S. Our next one is actually a really common one in the world. This is one of the first one native speakers learned to say as we're growing up. It is, she sells seashells by the seashore. Say that one more time. She sells seashells by the seashore. And you try to say that as quickly as possible. Our next one. She sees cheese. So working our SH and our CH sounds to separate. She sees cheese. And even as we say this, our teeth stay together almost the entire time. So it's really making sure that we control the air as we speak. Our next one, if a dog chews shoes, whose shoes does he choose? So really practicing our chews and oohs sounds. One more time. If a dog chews shoes, whose shoes does he choose? Good. Let's move on. He threw 3 free throws. One more time. He threw 3 free throws. The next one is, the 33 thieves thought that they thrilled the throne throughout Thursday. Lots of THs in here. Let's try this one more time. Remember, that tongue has to come out of your mouth. Your teeth have to bite and pull to make that TH sound. So here we go, one more time. The 33 thieves thought that they thrilled the throne throughout Thursday. Big TH, big drags every time. Next one are W sounds. Wayne went to Wales to watch walruses. That was even hard for me, as you guys heard. Let's try that again. Wayne went to Wales to watch walruses. So, even for natives, these can be hard. You hear me struggling just a little bit on that word walruses. So it really helps us get our phonetics under control. This one's one of my personal favorites. I'm actually going to do this a little bit quicker on the first round just because I like it so much. It is, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Now for you guys, I'm going to slow this down nice and easy. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? So we're really working on our sounds with W's and ch's. So I'll do it one more time, nice and slow for you guys. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Good. Let's move on. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. So lots of sounds again coming together. Let's do it one more time. I saw a kitten eating chicken in the kitchen. Our next one focuses a lot on our F sounds. F's, if it's hard for you, the best hint I can give you is make sure you're biting your lip. Your tongue, or not your tongue, I'm sorry, your teeth on the top of your mouth have to bite your lip to make that F sound. So you're going to want to touch them together. So here we go. 44 fine fresh fish for you. And every time I'm biting my lip to make that F sound. Again. 44 fine fresh fish for you. Very good. Our F with a blend, so it's a similar a little bit, but with our blended sound. F, R, B, R are very common blends in English. So let's try it together. Fred, fed, Ted, bread, and Ted, fed, Fred, bread. So be really careful with that FR, F separations. Let's do it one more time. Fred, fed, Ted, bread, and Ted, fed, Fred, bread. So really clear blended sounds. Our next one focuses on F and V. F and V are very similar, and both of them once again have to bite the lip. This is the most important part with our V. One of the most common mistakes I hear with V is V's turn into W's. So we have to make sure we're biting always for the V. And our example is 11 benevolent elephants. And on each one, I'm biting my lip on that V or that F sound. 11 benevolent elephants. Biting our lips. R's and L's are another similar sound. They're very similar with our mouth and our muscular control. So they're also really important to practice next to each other and independently. So here we go. Round and round the rugged rocks the ragged rascal ran. Lots of R's rolling in my mouth. Let's try this again. Round and round the rugged rocks the ragged rascal ran. And you can hear, almost as the sound is coming from our throat, right here, that big rumble by your vocal cords. All right? And for our L sound, once again, remember, we have to have our tongue touch the top of the mouth. It has to make contact to the top of the mouth. So our example is, Linda Lou Lambert loves lemon lollipop lip gloss. Lots of L's in there. Make sure we get them nice and clear. Let's do it one more time. Linda Lou Lambert loves lemon lollipop lip gloss. Again, big sounds. I spoke it nice and slowly to get all those L's clearly separated. Our next one is combining R and L together because these sounds are very similar. This is one of the perfect ones to really master our R's and L's together, being able to swap between one and the other consistently. So it's great practice, especially if you're trying to do a speaking test anytime in the next hour or so. Let's see how we do. It is red lorry, yellow lorry. And this one, we try to do it as quickly as possible, so let's see if I can do it. Red lorry, yellow lorry. And again, we try to go faster. Red lorry, yellow lorry. And as fast as possible. Red lorry, yellow lorry. And keeping our clarity as we speak it. Next up is W mixed in with R and L, another sound that gets commonly mixed. So we have Willie's, real, rear, wheel. Again, sounds that are very close together in my mouth, in your mouth, and we have to make sure that we use the air in our speech to get them clearly. So here we go. Willie's wheel. Let me even try again. I made a mistake that time. Willie's real, rear, wheel. So that W to that R combination is really quite hard. So doing this nice and slowly and clearly helps us control our phonics. Our RW as well as LW, again, are situations like this. So these are really to help us practice clearly. Our first one is Rory the warrior and Roger the warrior were reared wrongly in a rural brewery. So R's and W's mixing together. Let's do it one more time. Rory the warrior and Roger the warrior were reared wrongly in a rural brewery. And our next one is L's and W's. Lesser, leather, never, weathered, wetter, weather, better. And even here, we're practicing a couple T sounds with it, including. So we'll do this one more time. Lesser, leather, never, weathered, wetter, weather, better. Very good. Our next one is mixing N and L. No need to light a night light on a light night like tonight. And we're also doing an IT sound as well. If you hear it, that I is consistently in here. So let's do it one more time. No need to light a night light on a light night like tonight. Our next one is JN. These are actually really similar sounds when we talk about muscles in our mouth, and these sounds often blend together, so it's important to be able to separate them as well, because as we speak quicker, they do blend quite commonly together with each other. So, you know New York, you need New York, you know you need unique New York. And right here is where you're going to get the biggest kind of trouble in this one. So let's do it one more time. You know New York, you need New York, you know you need unique New York. So making sure you get that interaction is the key for this one. And also make sure you're pausing for your commas, respect the space for this one. Our next one is a nice, beautiful classic. Focuses on our B sounds as well as a few others with it. But it is Betty Botter bought some butter. And this has been around for even as long as I can remember. This is a very classic tongue twister. So let's do it one more time. Betty Botter bought some butter. There we go. Moving on, we have some G phonics and some other blended phonics. We have the great Greek grape growers grow great Greek grapes. Lots of G's, lots of GR blends, so let's do that one more time. The great Greek grape growers grow great Greek grapes. And like I said, phonics are important. It is important to do this nice and slowly. You hear me just slightly making a few mistakes every once in a while, and this is why we practice, to get that clarity, to get that coherency and that consistency. Next one is a vowel blend. So we have near and ear, a nearer ear, a nearly eerie ear. So lots of ear sounds, I sounds. So let's do this one more time. Near and ear, a nearer ear, a nearly eerie ear. Moving on to sounds again. Birdie, birdie in the sky, laid a turdy in my eye. So here we go, one more time. Birdie, birdie in the sky, laid a turdy in my eye. And you can actually even hear on this one, it's a little bit more rhythmic. You can hear the rhyming pattern in it as well. Moving on to more blends, I know we have a lot of them. We know we've done a lot of tongue twisters. Please keep it up. These are important practices. Remember, you can do these in your free time. Let's move on to our next ones with KS and ST blends. We have 6 sticky skeletons. So clear SK sounds and ST sounds. 6 sticky skeletons. Our TW is next, a very common one. We have 12 twins twirled 12 twigs. So repeat it one more time with me. 12 twins twirled 12 twigs. Very good. We have our next blend. It's our KLKR, but we often see it as CLCR, which is the more common version of seeing this. So phonetically, it's a K sound, but here we see it almost unanimously spelled with C's. But it is, how can a clam cram in a clean cream can? So if you have problems with those L's and R sounds, again, this is a good one for you, being able to blend them with other letters. How can a clam, so let's try one more time. How can a clam cram in a clean cream can? There it is. Moving on. 6 sleek swans swam swiftly southwards. One more time. 6 sleek swans swam swiftly southwards. Very good. And moving on to TRs or STRs and KS blends. Trust the strategy before tragedy strikes. There's a few complicated words in here. Let's do it one more time. Trust the strategy before tragedy strikes. So really getting those triple sounds in there. And our last 3, here we go. 6 sick hicks nicked 6 slick bricks with picks and sticks. Lots of strong sounds. You hear me saying big, strong sounds. Let's do that one more time. 6 sick hicks nicked 6 slick bricks with picks and sticks. So you can hear those K's at the very end. Big, strong K, CK sounds at the end of everything. Our BL blends. Brian brewed beer with a black bear's blood. So again, blending them together. Brian brewed beer with a black bear's blood. And you can hear, as I'm saying, Brian, you can hear the brr, the rumbling of that R. And for the L, it's the longness of that L. Brian and black. You can hear one getting long and one being a rumble in our phonics. And our last ones to look at. Top chopstick shops stock top chopsticks. This one is quite difficult. There are many close sounds together with it. So let's try it one more time. Top, chop, stick, shops, stock, top, chop, sticks. So again, making sure we get nice, clear grammar, nice, clear phonic sounds. Doing this one quickly is quite hard. Make sure you try it on your own time. So again, just as a recap, before we move on, these are what we call tongue twisters, and our tongue twisters help us with muscle memory. Muscle memory of language, being able to create the sounds in the English language. Okay, let's move on to our next major topic. Our next major topic is syllables. When I think of syllables, I really like to think of what I call the rhythm of a language. So the beat, the musicality. Musicality is a great word. Musicality of the language. And we normally do this by clapping. So in this next part, we're going to do some clapping together and figuring out some rhythm of the language. So every word in English has a syllabolic count. And the syllables are created by the letters and the blends and the sounds within the words. So let's take a look at a couple of examples, just to go smoothly and easily. Our first example is tie, and this has one syllable. All of the word happens in one sound or one musical beat. Another way to think of it. Our next word, change colors, is rescue, and rescue is considered to have two syllables. And if we hear it, there are two main sounds in it. We have res, right here, We have res, and we have Q, as you can see on our right. And if you're looking up words online, especially on Google, Google almost always has words broken down like this, broken into its phonetic sounds. But it works in syllables, or its syllabolic sounds. All right? Our next one is alphabet, and alphabet has three. So if I wanted to clap this together, we could use our example on the right, again, like Google would show, and it would be alphabet. And there's three sounds in this word. Our next example is activity. Activity is a four-syllable word, and just so you can hear it, let me clap it for you. It's activity. And these are all the different sounds creating this word. And our last example is electricity. And electricity is a five-syllable word. So once again, just to break this down, it's electricity. And you could clap this by yourself if you wanted using these breakdowns. And once again, if you go online, if you search, especially on Google, if you ever type in Google, what does the word electricity mean? It'll always break it down like this for you to sound it out yourself. So as you're learning a new word, you can also learn how to pronounce a new word and its syllabolic breakdowns. So we use this and we understand this to work with English and the English language. So we have a quick picture guide, in essence, to help you understand how words are broken into syllables. And these are not perfect rules, but these are guidelines to help understand. So the first one is, it is normally a one-syllable word if it is a one-vowel sound. This is simple words like we call our CVC words, or our consonant-vowel-consonant words. Examples are things like cat, bat, hat, etc. One vowel sound, one syllable. It all fits into one clap. Our next one is two-syllable words, and these sometimes can split at the double letters. So in our examples, we have butter and battle. Both of these split at the T, the double consonant. So it's a two-syllable word splitting its syllables in the middle of the double consonant. Other examples like this, for example, could be the word apple. So we have apple. Apple, if I clap it, is apple. It's two syllables. And it breaks at that double consonant. Another one, if you are familiar with U.S. states by chance, this is one we love in America. It is the state Mississippi. and it's spelled Mississippi. And the word Mississippi has quite a few syllables in it, but as we break this word down in its different syllables, we again break it in its double letters. We split it between all the doubles, so it goes Mississippi. And you can hear it's 4 syllables broken at the doubles, at the split double consonants. Our next rule for counting syllables is that many words split at compound words. And compound words are when we have 2 words that have been put together. So another way to think of this is we have 2 one-syllable or one vowel sound words, and we have 2 of these put together. So 1 plus 1 equals 2. So our examples are mailbox and doghouse. To give you another one, it's a slightly different spelling, but we have the word walnut. Walnut is actually 2 words compound together. We have the word wall, which we have actually taken the second L out of for this word, but it's wall and nut. And again, these are 2 one vowel sounding words. For our next example, we have the word grape, fruit. Oh, I missed my R, apologies. Grapefruit. And grapefruit is, again, 2 words, the word grape and the word fruit, and we've compounded them together. And when we think about the syllables, it splits at that compounded word. We split it into 2 words or 2 syllables at grape and fruit. Our next rule for counting is we normally make splits at what we call VCCRs, or these are what we call vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel setups. So examples we have here are elbows, and in elbow we see the vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel setup. And again in doctor we have the same. It's vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel setup. So this is not an easy rule to remember always when you're especially speaking. This is easier to see when you're reading, but this is normally when it happens. So just a few more examples like this that you probably have seen in your life of words. Our first one is coffee. Coffee actually follows this perfectly. It goes vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel. And coffee is a 2-syllable word, and it splits at that double F, coffee. So this is also a double F and a VCCV word. It fits both categories of syllables. Another example of this is the word tissue. Tissue, once again, is like coffee. It's a double consonant and that VCCV setup. And we have 2 syllables in here, and it splits at the double S, tissue. Okay, our next one is a bit more complicated, but I think with a few examples, it'll be easier for you. So what it really says is it's split at the consonant-LE setup. So our example is turtle and cradle. And you can see the consonant LE and the consonant LE setup. So a few more examples of this that you've probably seen more commonly are things like doable. So if things are doable, we have to split it right here. We split at do, and we have that consonant LE, and we do a split right there. So doable is 3 syllables. Do-a-bull, as this works. Another example for this is the word hurdle. If you don't know what a hurdle is something you jump over. So hurdle, once again, if we look at our pattern, consonant LE, and it splits right there. So we have hurdle as 2. Hurdle, 2 syllables. And our last kind of rule for syllables. This one works quite well, but the main thing here is you need to know lots of prefixes or suffixes. If you don't know, prefixes are at the beginning of words, and suffixes are at the end of words. So in our example, we have preview and kindness. Pre is a prefix that means before, actually. And ness is a noun form of any word. So just to show a few more examples of this, we have the word, I like this word, the word biology. Really common word for students and in school, biology. It's a subject we learn out. So we have actually a few things here. We have bio and we have ology. These are actually two affixes put together. Bio means life as a prefix, and ology means study of. So we've actually got one word created with a prefix and a suffix, and the split for the phonics is in the middle. The split for the syllables is in the middle. So these are examples of different syllables in different words as we're going through them. All right? So what we're going to do next is we're going to do a little exercise together. And what I'd like to do is just read the instructions for you and explain it just a quick moment before we begin. So what's going to happen is you will need to count the number of syllables within the following words and read them out loud. What I will do is I will read the words to you one time. And I'll read all the words to you so you can hear them all. And then at the end, as I'll read them again, and I will tell you how many syllables, for example, are in each word. And I'll show you where those lines are for those breaks. As you hear this, try to remember our rules from above to help you, or try to just hear as I'm saying it. On some of these words, you can probably hear the counts. You may not know exactly where the syllable break is, but you can likely hear it. So once again, this is going to be our first time. I'm going to read the words. Your job is to try and listen to where the syllables are and draw lines and tell me how many. All right? So let's go down the list. I'll go down columns and not over rows. So word number one. Word number one. Attention. Once again, attention. Word number two. Celebrity. Listen again. Celebrity. Word number three. Cheap. Cheap. Word number four. Internationalization. It's a big one. One more time. Internationalization. Number five. Ambitious. Ambitious. And number six. Capitalism. Capitalism. Number seven. Match. Match. Number eight. Familiarize. Familiarize. Number nine. Identifiable. Identifiable. Number 10. Disappear. Disappear. Number 11. Administrative. Administrative. And number 12. Problem. Problem. Number 13. Unexpected. Unexpected. Number 14. Lifted. Lifted. Number 15. American. American. Number 16. Microbiological. One more time. Microbiological. Number 17. Concrete. Concrete. And number 18. Asked. Asked. So, once again, those are the words. Now let's review the answers and see how you did. So for number one, attention, this is a 3-syllable word, and these syllables are broken at the double T and the suffix. Number two, celebrity. Celebrity is a 4-syllable word, and it's broken at the L, the EB, and the T right there. Celebrity. Cheap is a 1-syllable word, and it's all together. And I'm going to put it in a circle to represent that. Number 4, internationalization. It's a big old long one. This is an 8-syllable word. It breaks at inter, that vowel, consonant, vowel setup. Inter, right there at the end of the suffix. Nation. At the next prefix, End of the word, nationalization. Alization is our syllabolic breakdown. Number 5, ambitious. Ambitious is a 3-syllable word. Breaks at our vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel setup, and our suffix. We have capitalism. Capitalism is a 4-syllable word. It breaks at our P, it breaks at our T, and it breaks at our suffix. I'm using the word suffix once again because these are all different affixes. Match is another one. It is a monosyllabolic word. It is 1 syllable. Moving on, we have number 8, familiarize. Familiarize is 4 syllables. It breaks at the AM, it breaks at the LI, and it breaks at the IZE, familiarize. Identifiable is 5 syllables. It breaks at the I, it breaks at the NT because it's the vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel setup right there. Breaks at our phi, and we have our able. Disappear is 3 syllables. It breaks at dis, which is a prefix, and the double P, which is our double consonant. Disappear. Number 11, administrative. This is 5 syllables. Administration breaks at the, again, the vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel setup. Admin is a prefix. Illustrative, another setup right there. And our suffix. Problem. Problem is, I would say, one of the simpler words on here, and it breaks in the middle at our vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel setup once again. Unexpected. Unexpected is a 4-syllable word. It has a prefix. It has a suffix. And in the middle, we have a vowel, consonant, vowel. Or sorry, a vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel. I said that wrong. Lifted. Lifted is a 2-syllable word. It breaks at the suffix, lifted. Or it also breaks at the vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel. Number 15, American. American is a 4-syllable word. Breaks at the A, breaks at the R, breaks at the can. Number 16 is a really long one. Just like our other ones, microbiological. Micro is a break. End of the suffix is a break. Biological are the rest of the breaks. There's one more right here. Let me actually make this a little bit bigger. It's hard to do this one because there's so many places here. So let me make this nice and clear. We have one at the IC, microbiological. There we are. There are all of our breaks. Nice and easier. Next up, 17, we have concrete. Concrete has 2 syllables, and it breaks at our vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel setup. And number 18. Number 18 is asked. Asked is 1 with 1 syllable. So these are all of our different syllables for these words broken down. Hopefully you got them correct. If not, please just correct your answers and review them. Okay, everyone, we've been going for an hour. We're going to take just a moment here, and we have a quick video to show you guys in this hour as a small break. Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's get back into it. The next thing we're going to be talking about is the stress patterns as we speak. With our stress patterns, there's one thing I really want to explain in English is stress patterns are slightly different for every country that speaks English, and it's going to be slightly different for every English speaker. So it's really unique to who we are, but we do have some general rules that everyone follows normally as we're speaking. And I'm speaking in vague, broad terms, using words like general or normally, because once again, this is not a exact science, I would like to say. It's not perfect, but it's just what's happening normally in our conversation. One thing to really emphasize here is stress is how we really convey, or stress patterns is how we convey emotions or even the word sarcasm in language. So it's adding not just words, but emotions into how we speak. So when working with stress words I like to describe as being pushing extra air. So whatever you're saying, and then whenever we're speaking, whatever word it is, whatever sound it is, you're using a little bit extra air to create that sound. And this is what's creating that stress in the sound, because it's being increased, it's being enhanced as it's being produced. It's stressing it. So one thing about this, we have a few guidelines. Remember, these are guidelines. These are not rules. Guidelines means that they're just ideas to help you. These are not perfect things you must follow that you will follow. In fact, I would like to recommend and like to suggest that you not fully think about these things at all times, and you just let it naturally happen. And you can let this naturally happen by making sure you're practicing speaking consistently or even listening to natives consistently. You can hear and pick up these types of stresses, these types of intonations. So the first guideline, our stress syllable is slightly longer, louder, and higher pitched. So once again, sorry, that's not a highlighter. So we're pushing more air to create a longer, a louder, or a higher pitched sound. It needs more oxygen to do this. Our second one is for words that have more than one syllable, usually following this table as a guideline. So as we have learned, different words are different syllables, and they have different syllable lengths in them. So normally, a syllable in every word will be stressed. So if it is a multi-syllable word, one of those syllables is likely to be stressed. In our following tables, we have some examples for you to show these guidelines. And again, these are not perfect rules. These are not absolute rules. These are just things that are normally happening. All right? So in our first example, we see some nouns. And again, we're stressing on the first syllable of these multi-syllable words. So our first one is present. Present. Right? So when I ask, here's your present, here's your gift, you hear that P has a bit more air to it. Our next one, table. You hear the T. That T comes out very powerful, very strong, and emphasis is on table. Our next one is doctor. Once again, you hear the emphasis, you hear the power of that first sound. And this is what we start calling about stress. And our last one in the example is bowling. B is normally a softer sound in English, but I'm even putting air on that to emphasize that B, to make it a bigger B. So once again, it's bowling. Those are examples of nouns. We're now moving on to adjectives. Again, stressing the first syllable. Our examples are happy. And you can hear the big H, happy. All that air coming through that word, that stress, that emotion coming through that. Our next one is thankful. I'm putting a ton of air into that word. Thankful. And even the F is kind of falling off. So it's lots of oxygen. Our next one is gentle. Again, you're hearing lots of power come through, lots of stressing come through that sound. And it is curious. Even said, he is curious. You can hear the power on that C, the stress on that C, the air coming through. For verbs, the rule slightly changes. Normally with verbs, it's on the second syllable of the sound. And this is normally because with verbs, the first sound is modifying the action. We have lots of affixes right here. We actually have 3 affixes: export, regret, pronounce. All 3 of those are different affixes or prefixes, which means our second syllable is going to be the core of these ideas, the core sound we want to produce. So in our first example, we have export. And you can hear, once again, that P is coming out big and strong. I'm exploding with that P. Export. And our next one is regret. Regret. And my G, once again, is getting nice and big. Furthermore, we have pronounce. And that ow is once again, that nounce is once again getting nice and big and loud. And our last example is appear. And you can even hear the sound is rising. Appear, going up, the pitch is rising with it. So the examples of nouns, adjectives, and verbs using stress, using that extra power, that extra air in how we sound. These are just more examples of, again, 3 or more syllable words. Just some quick rules to help remind you. A lot of these things are going to end in suffixes of different styles. And at these different styles, the stress will be slightly different. So just to do it, our suffixes ik, shun, and shun, we're doing the second to last syllable. So we have graphic, this is not the one I want, sorry. Graphic, geographic, geological, television, revelation. You can hear each one of these. I'm hitting those sounds with lots of air. I'm pushing air on them. My body's even having kind of a physical reaction as I push the air on them. Next example, we're stressing third to last syllables. And in our first example, that is actually the first syllable. Third to last. Last is right here. 1, 2, 3. So it's actually the first. So in our first one, it is critical. Next one is democracy. And we even have a D. That D is normally really quiet. Democracy. The M becomes the big sound. Technology. Dependability. Photography. And even here, you hear the emphasis, the air coming out. We want to stress these sounds because they're really the key sounds or dominant sounds in these words. And once again, please, please, please note, these are just general guidelines. These are not perfect rules. There are plenty of exceptions. The best advice I can give you is to practice and get experience. And when I say get experience, that means you are listening to English, you're speaking English, you're learning how to hear these stresses, how to hear these sounds, and practice them yourself. It's really not something you can read about. It's something you have to let your tongue muscles get used to, your airflow get used to. All right? And there's actually a big kind of vocabulary here I want to highlight here and make sure that everyone understands. We say, then repeat the words you hear, imitating their pronunciations. And when we say imitating, what we mean is to, simply put, copy or mirror or replicate. So you're trying to mimic or copy the sounds we make. All right? So let's go on to our next section. Again, working with our guidelines, working with our stress patterns, and how this all works. So when we're talking about words to stress, we have different parts of speech that should be stressed. And again, key word here is should. This is not a 100% thing once again. But let's look into it. The first part, the things that should be stressed, once again, are content words. Content words, what I really like to describe them as nouns, main verbs, adjectives, or adverbs. Another way to say this, these are important aspects of a sentence or grammar. When we think of an idea, think of a sentence, these are all key parts that we need to have a clear idea communicated. So it would be natural sense that these are the words that are going to be stressed in a sentence or in an idea. So this would be our nouns, our main verbs, our adjectives, and our adverbs. The different things that are describing ideas and how this idea is being built. We have a second category, which we call our function words. And these are not normally stressed. These are what I'm going to say are soft sounds or soft words. And they are pronouns, auxiliary verbs, prepositions, conjunctions, or determiners. And I'll give you some examples. Pronouns are things like he or she, words that you probably commonly know. Auxiliary verbs, this one's actually going to be one like the verb to be. So is, am, ares. Is, am, are. Sorry, it's spelled wrong. Prepositions, we have many prepositions in the world, but they're all very tiny words. Things like of, in, at, around. Our conjunctions and our determiners. Determiners could be things like a or thus. And our conjunctions. There's one conjunction here I really want to highlight. This conjunction is one of the softest sounds, unstressed sounds we ever say, and it is the word or. It is very important to hear this word and to understand the sound for this word. This word comes up in many questions in the TOEFL or in speaking or even the writing sections or listening. And it's very important to catch it because it's soft, it's quiet. Or is a very, very soft and never stressed word. But it's one of the most important words in a sentence, which is normally why teachers or questions sometimes will bold it or highlight it. Because while it's spoken, not heard very often, it is very powerful in what it does. All right? So we have just a few examples of sentences here, just to kind of illustrate as you hear. And I know we have some notes at the bottom about stresses, but I'm going to just read the sentence to you and just have you listen to it. All right? So our first sentence. I ran quickly to the desk. I'll say this again, just for you guys. I ran quickly to the desk. As you hear it, it's almost all the same sound, the same stress. There's not many differences. And again, stresses do not need to be big emphasis. They will just have some. So let me see if I can make this a little bit more pronounced for you guys. I ran quickly to the desk. And so right here, I've put a bit more air to stress them enough. They're the key ideas. Our next one. Who will come to the party? All those words right across, no real stressing. Let me try to emphasize again our main verb. Who will come to the party? And right there you heard the giant C as I hit that word nice and hard. That big come to the party. And in our last example, once again, we have Frank is a responsible person. If I try to put the stress on these words, I have Frank is a responsible person. And very quickly, is came together. I put those sounds very, very fast together, and they weren't stressed at all. To come back up and hit the stress sounds again. So once again, these are examples of how we stress sounds and how we put these sounds together to make sentences. And please, please, please do not put a huge emphasis on this. This is something that I would like to say happens naturally as you get more practice, as you become more confident as a speaker. If you want a way to practice this specifically, the best way to practice this specific skill is to, I'll put a note just right up here to make this simple, is to read books aloud. And when I say books, I don't mean advanced books. Don't pick a book that's difficult for you, but pick an easy book, a children's book likely, and just practice reading these words. And you'll naturally practice using stresses and using non-stress words as you speak. It's, again, that muscle memory, getting our tongue to remember the sounds it needs to move to and make to speak English clearly. One thing is very important to note, it's actually one of the most important things to note, especially on stress, is when you have negative words. Negative words are things that counter or do inverses, like our nots or our don'ts, for example, or haven'ts. These are all negative words, and all of these need to be stressed. These words are important. These words change sentences very drastically, very clearly. And as we use them, we need to make sure they're stressed. So in our example, they never return my calls. Never here is quite important, so it needs to be stressed. They never return my calls. And you can hear the energy behind that never, the finality behind that never. They never call us. They never return my calls. And the last one, the kids didn't want to go swimming. And even as I say that, you can see me, you can hear me, I'm putting air into that didn't. The kids didn't want to go swimming. All right? So these are both examples of negatives, and these negatives get emphasized. They get exaggerated. They need to be stressed so that we can hear them, because they are major operations in a sentence. They are major factors in a sentence. All right? Let's move on to one of our next parts. Our next part is intonations. And what we mean by intonations, this is how I like to say the air, that's the two A's, the air travels or flows. Let's do this way, travels or flows through a sentence. So what this really means is how much air survives in a sentence. So as we speak, and as you speak now, or as you're listening, we breathe, we talk, air is filling our lungs. It's what happens in our bodies. So these intonations, these tones are created as that air is used and as that air moves through a sentence. So for different sentences, we actually have natural tones that just come out through how we are producing the idea and how the idea is communicated. So let's go through a few examples. Our first tone to highlight is called the falling tone. If I could draw that in a picture, that would just mean that the air goes and comes down. It's falling down. It's going downwards. So normally we have this type of sound, this type of intonation with statement sentences, or let's just say fact sentences, or simple sentences, another way to say this. So in our example, if you were to read this, you wouldn't hear this, but I'm going to say this out loud. So listen to this. I think we are completely lost. And as I'm saying that out loud, it's even going down. Once again, let me repeat that for you. I think I'm completely lost. I think we are completely lost. And you can hear the tone of that sentence is just coming down. It's not deep, it's not much, but it's almost quieter, you can almost say. I think we are completely lost. And it's going down a little bit. Our next example is a command. A command is giving someone an order. So if I give someone an order, the tone, the intonation is going to go down just a little bit, again, minutely. Take off your shoes. You can hear, as I'm saying that, the sound is almost getting deeper and stronger each level. Take off your shoes. The tone is falling down. The seriousness is increasing, and I'm going down in my tone. I'm getting more deep. Our next one is WH questions. This is a big category. If you don't remember your WH questions, there are many of them, and I'll give you them right now. So examples are who, what, when, where, why, who, what, when, where, why, how, which. These are 7 most common WH question words. So as we're looking at, or as we're speaking questions, almost always a WH question is going to be a falling sound. So in our example, what time does the film finish? And as I'm saying that, as the air is coming out of my mouth, the tone once again is going down. Or what did you do last summer? Or what did you do for yesterday? Or when are we going to the park? Or where did mom and dad go? And all of these questions, they're curious, yes, but we're just falling down slightly in how we tone. Our next example is question tags. And what a question tag really means is a clarification So we have an idea, we make a statement, and then we just want to have a question at the end to clarify it. So, for example, this could be, Tom likes dogs, doesn't he? So, Tom likes dogs is the idea, and we're clarifying it with this question tag. So, Tom likes dogs, doesn't he? And in this question a little bit, you're hearing it fall once again. Tom likes dogs, doesn't he? I'm unsure. It's that insecurity that you're hearing. As it's falling, we think he likes dogs, and we're asking because we're not sure. And that insecurity, that unsureness or lack of confidence is bringing our tone down. All right? Our next tone is what we call the rising intonation, the rising tone. And this comes in a few situations. The first one is in very simple yes-no questions. Yes-no questions are almost always in a rising tone. Is that the new doctor? Is that a new teacher? Is it cool? Is it hot? Is it funny? Are you hungry? And as you hear all of them, the last word is getting louder on each question. So my tone is rising. My tone is getting higher for each one. It's almost like we're anxious for the answer. We want that yes, no, is kind of the emotion that's coming behind it. The next one is to show surprise. So we're going to say something, and we're almost shocked about it. I got an A on my math exam? It's unbelievable. I can't believe it. I'm feeling shocked. Oh my goodness. It is raining outside again? I can't believe it. I'm feeling shocked that my tone is getting higher. Almost like my emotion, my happiness, my anxiety even potentially could be. But all these emotions, let's say, are activating. They're getting stronger. So another way to say this is stronger emotions coming through. Okay? Our next one, we call it the rise and fall intonation. Then the rise and fall intonation works as the following. It, in essence, puts these two ideas together. Do you prefer coffee or tea? This is our first choice, and it comes with our keyword or. I mentioned this before. Or is a very soft sound. Listen to this sentence again. Do you prefer coffee or tea? That or is super small, super quiet. Do you like dogs or cats? Right? Even the one, super quiet. Do you eat pizza or noodles? It really just sounds like pizza, noodles. The or is very soft, very quiet. It's really important to hear for this sound. So when we talk about a rising fall intonation, in this example, you can hear the first question is a very simple question. So it's rising. Do you prefer coffee? Do you prefer coffee? Simple, quick, fast. Our sound is going up. Or, once again, that or is a very soft, quiet sound. So or, T comes right down as a way to picture this. So any question with a choice is going to rise and fall because that or is where the air comes down. It's where we're falling at. The next one is in list. Lists are quite common, especially when you're giving people information or telling about instructions even. So we bought some jeans, 2 shirts, a pair of shoes, and an umbrella. So in each one of these, they're kind of rising and falling. We start with information. We bought some jeans, rising up. As we come to our list, it goes down and down and down. 2 shirts, a pair of shoes, and an umbrella. So you can see our little U's, our little buckets as we're going down and down and down. And list and list and list and item and item and item. As you think about it, they each go down, and so the tone goes down with it. We're going down a list. Our tone is going down with it. Our next situation here is what we call conditional sentences. Any conditional sentence works in this situation because almost every conditional sentence is kind of 2 sentences put together. So we have, if you drop that glass, right, our statement from above, our statement, if you drop that glass, it will break. and right there on that comma. So if you drop that glass, it will break. We go up and we come down. There's a consequence to this, and there's a fallout to it. All right? And our last one is the exact opposite. The exact opposite is what we call the fall to rise intonation, which means it's going down and then coming back up. So what we're really doing here is to show hesitation or some reluctancy. We're showing that we're unsure, is another way to say this. Insecurity, or sorry, I misspelled that quite badly. Insecurity, or unsure is really what we're showing. So once again, our first line is a statement. I don't support any football team at the moment, but I may change my mind in the future. So we're unsure, insecure, unconfident, and it's going down. We hit a punctuation mark, and we jump back up. But I change my mind in the future. But I may change my mind in the future. And then in our last one, we're just looking to create some politeness, be more polite, be more nice. Could you pass me the ketchup, please? And right here, we take a breath, and our tone goes back up. So one thing I want to really highlight here is when talking about tone, the airflow, the oxygen we use is really important. And commas are going to be a powerful tool with tone, because this is a place where we create oxygen or we breathe while we're speaking. Okay, so what we're going to do now, though, this is actually the right time to do this. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back from our break, what we're going to do is take a look at our practice in identifying tones. But before we do that, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and I'll see you guys in about 10 minutes.